Okay, Monte, tell me, how does a man from California, a small town in California, get to be a commander of 4,000 soldiers in the Karabakh Liberation Army?
Well, first of all, it's been a long time since I've been, participating in the Armenian struggle, in the Armenian people's struggle to regain their rights throughout their homeland, throughout their historic homeland, most of which is no longer part of the Armenian state, the present Armenian state. So it's been about 15 years, more than 15 years that I've been participating in that struggle. So I've accumulated a bit of experience, and then when I came here, I began the same work. It was what I'm doing here is a continuation of what I did before. And it's totally natural that Armenians from the United States or any other place come here and participate like any other Armenian. In other words, this is our homeland. This is as much my homeland as it is the homeland of whoever's been born here or whatever. So it's very natural that people like me come here and participate. And I don't know, just like anyone else, through my work, things developed, and fortunately we've had important successes in the region where I'm the commander, in the region of Marsden, in mountainous Karabakh. And so, that was just the way things evolved. And now I'm the commander of that region. And right now I'm in Mardagert, heading a unit from our region that's come here to help in re-liberating this region. As you know, the Azeris took it over in June and July 1992. They burned most of the villages and everything, and we've had a hard time getting back into these mountains, but we've done it. We've done it, and we've caused a lot of damage to our enemy, and I think that our enemy has started to understand that this region isn't a part of Azerbaijan, that they can't crush the Armenian people militarily, and that they've got to look for other solutions.
Give me some background on the conflict.
Well, historically, Artsakh, that's the name for the historical name for Karabakh, the Armenian name, Artsakh. So this region of Artsakh has always been one of the integral regions of the Armenian homeland throughout our history. Thousands of years of history, and for thousands of years, this region has been Armenian. In 1920, when both Azerbaijan and Armenia became Soviet republics, at that time they wanted to draw new borders. For very tactical political reasons, Stalin put a lot of pressure on the authorities of the Transcaucasian republics to have both Artsakh and Nakhichevan included in Azerbaijan rather than in Armenia, despite the fact that the Azerbaijani leader at the time, initially, December 2nd, 1920, declared that both of these regions were to be included in Armenia rather than in Azerbaijan. Despite that, Stalin put a lot of pressure on him to have these two regions arbitrarily cut off from Armenia and included in the Republic of Azerbaijan, mostly to get in good with Ataturk, who at the time Stalin believed was an anti-imperialist force, and a force that would eventually become an ally of the Soviet Union. So due to these tactical these tactical reasons, they decided to arbitrarily draw borders that do not at all represent the true borders, the historical borders, or the demography of the region. And so this region got cut off from Armenia, despite the fact that at that time 97% of the population was Armenian. 97%.
What motivates you?
What motivates me? What motivates me? What would motivate an American to fight if, say, for example, I don't know, say, for example, the Norwegians came and took over New York State, from New York all the way down to Georgia or something like that. If they took over the East Coast, what would motivate an American to go fight to regain those states? It's the same thing, you know. If it's part of your country and part of your people, and the rights of your people are being totally neglected, the people are being totally oppressed, forced to leave the region. For example, since 1920, the Azerbaijani government, once this region was included in Azerbaijan, began a policy of depopulating the region of Armenians. And they did that mostly by neglecting the region economically, not investing, not creating infrastructure, you know, roads, electricity, telecommunications, etc., running water. They neglected the region on purpose so as to, empty the region of its population. Its population was 97% Armenian. A lot of the Armenians began going to Baku, Sumgait, or going back to Soviet Armenia just to find a job or just to, you know, make a decent living. And so by 1987, only 75% of the population was Armenian. And so that's, you know, there are tons of proof that that was a policy that the Azerbaijani government developed with the aim of finally totally taking the region over, like Nakhichevan. Nakhichevan was 50% of the population. Nakhichevan was Armenian in 1920, and today there are 0 Armenians in Nakhichevan, 0 Armenians. So when you see that part of your homeland is being taken over in some of the lowest ways, is like the state. The state is just, the Azerbaijani state has just been plotting to take it over gradually, and they take it over by suppressing all the rights of your people, by suppressing their culture, by intimidating them. When you see all that going on, it's hard to not participate. And it's amazing that more people don't participate. It's amazing that more countries don't recognize all these facts and that they don't support the Armenian people in this struggle. It's absolutely amazing. It's absolutely amazing for me that almost every country in the world accepts a Stalinist position on Artsakh. It was Stalin's arbitrary decision to cut this region off and draw those stupid, totally, absurd borders. But despite that fact, most of the countries in the world still recognize those borders as, quote-unquote, internationally recognized borders. It's, I don't know, it's absurd to me. It's absurd to me that the U.S. president, the heads of state of all these countries throughout the world would take a Stalinist position on Artsakh.
Do you think that has something to do with United States' relationship with Turkey?
Of course it does. Of course it does. The United States has extremely tight relations with Turkey. They count on Turkey for a lot of things. Turkey's sort of their little puppet in the region. Turkey does more or less what they want it to do. It has a strong army. The United States wants to use that army you know, to police the Arab states, to police Iran, to enforce U.S. policy in the region. And due to that, the United States is willing to totally ignore the rights of an awful lot of peoples, including the rights of the Armenian people. They're willing to ignore historical reality. They're willing to ignore demographic facts. They're willing to ignore an awful lot of stuff just to, to keep in good with Turkey. It's very similar to what Stalin was doing in 1920, 1921, when he, cut Artsakh and Nakhichevan off from Armenia just to get in good with the Turkish government at the time, with Ataturk.
Apropos Turkey, explain the demographics of Nakhichevan. It's really cut off from Azerbaijan, isn't it?
Yes, geographically, it's totally cut off from Azerbaijan. It has nothing to do with it at all. It's sort of it's an enclave south in the southern region of the present Armenia. There are only 300,000 population there. And the region has always been historically Armenian also. And as you can see, geographically has nothing to do with Azerbaijan. But since that's the only territory, quote-unquote Azerbaijani territory that borders Turkey, it's extremely strategic for Azerbaijan. It was strategic at the beginning of the century also. To have one region administratively linked to Azerbaijan, which would border Turkey. Again, Nakhichevan was cut off from Armenia for political reasons. That had nothing to do, or that even contradicted reality, contradicted the interests of the people at the time, contradicted the necessities of the time, and which contradict all our efforts for peace. Peace cannot be established in a region as long as absurd frontiers exist, as long as absurd decisions are forced on people. People just can't accept absurd decisions.
Do you think the Azeris and the Turks have any kind of imperialistic ambitions to actually obliterate free Armenia?
Well, if you look at maps recently published both in Azerbaijan and in Turkey, where the southern part of present Armenia, in other words, Zangezur, the region of Zangezur, where the region of Zangezur and the northern shore of Lake Sevan are in Azerbaijan, and the rest of Armenia is nothing but another province of Turkey. Well, if you look at those maps, then you'll understand that at least some people, influential people at that, obviously don't believe that Armenia should have a future. And if you listen to what they say, and if you listen to what a lot of people write, then you'll get even more convinced of that.
Tell me a little bit about your army. They're all volunteers, aren't they?
Well, volunteer. Who wouldn't volunteer to defend his own house, his own family? They're all people from here, from the region. They're in the thousands of, among the thousands of soldiers we have, there are only something like 10 from Armenia here, this place, and 15 there in another region, and the whole region of Marsden, there are only about 10 people from out of Artsakh. In other words, they're local people. They're defending their families and their homes. So when you say volunteer, no one really wants to fight a war. No one really enjoys fighting a war. Fighting a war is more like cleaning a toilet. It's something you have to do. It's dirty work, but you have to do it, because if you don't do it, things only get worse.
There's a great difference, though, between your army and the Azeri army, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Our people are much more motivated. We're outnumbered, outarmed. You know, our enemy has a much more ammunition, better quality arms, everything. In other words, if you, mathematically speaking, we should have lost long ago. We should have lost long ago. But we keep resisting, and we're succeeding. We're succeeding. We've had big successes, mostly due to the fact that our people are more motivated. Like I said, they're defending their homes and their families, while the Azeris, they're coming to a region that they really don't know about, a lot of their soldiers, a very important number of their soldiers, deep down inside, they know that this isn't part of Azerbaijan. They know it's just not worth dying or getting wounded for this place, that it's not worth staying awake all night, you know, sleeping in the snow, going through all this trouble to fight for a land which has nothing to do with their country. A lot of them really understand it deep down inside, even though they don't admit it. And that's why they run away when a lot of them, you know, run away very, very, very quickly when we start attacking them. And that's the best thing they could do, because it's stupid to resist. Why should they resist? Why should they continue oppressing our people? Why should they resist to what? Make their politicians happy. If those politicians really want to fight this war, let them come to the front and let them fight themselves.
Once you have liberated Artsakh, would you prefer to have your own political structure independent of Armenia?
Look, this is my personal opinion. Armenia, the Armenian people are one people, and our country is one country. Artsakh is a part of Armenia. Today, well, on December 10th, 1991, there was a referendum in Artsakh where the people here decided to declare an independent Republic of Artsakh. Despite that, I think that's only a provisional decision. I think it's the only real future for Armenia, for Artsakh, is to be reunited with Armenia. It's the most natural, most logical outcome of all this.
Are you getting support from Armenia?
Well, the Armenian people in Armenia give us moral support. In other words, all Armenians want this region to be reunited with Armenia. Material support, you know, we may get electricity and fuel and all that stuff, but really we would like to get a lot more material support, a lot more material support. The region is, you know, under a lot of pressure, totally blockaded, totally cut off from the rest of the world. The only way to have any contact with the outside is through Armenia. As you know, Armenia is blockaded by Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan is fighting a war on the borders of present-day Armenia also. This war isn't only in Artsakh, they're attacking in other regions. They've taken over Artsvashen and other Armenian places. So Armenia is in a very difficult situation itself, but nevertheless, we would like to get a lot more material support. Political support also. We would like more political support.
It seems to me, though, that politically Armenia is kind of slightly disassociated itself from this war at the moment, at the present time.
Well, disassociated, like I said, we are getting support. The Armenian people support this effort, that's certain. But the Armenian government itself is in a very difficult position, like I said. The economic situation in Armenia is very bad. Again, due to the Azerbaijani blockade, mostly. Not only that, there are other reasons also, but the Azerbaijani blockade has been having a terrible effect on the Armenian economy, as well as on the Armenian people. We've been suffering during the winters. There's no heating, no gas, no fuel. All the roads been cut off, and whatever used to come through Azerbaijan doesn't get here anymore. Prices have shot up. Unemployment has risen. They're torturing Armenia a lot. Azerbaijan's been torturing Armenia a lot, and the government in Armenia is just trying to figure out how it can minimize the effects of what Azerbaijan is doing to our country, minimize the effects on our people.
How do you see solutions for this conflict?
Well, solution to this conflict, theoretically, is very simple. The whole world should just recognize historical facts. They should recognize reality. They should recognize the rights of the people here. And they should say, all right, look, the arbitrary borders that were drawn at the beginning of the century have nothing to do with justice, have nothing to do with the facts. Therefore, we've got to change them. And they should force Azerbaijan.
I'll let's get rid of that noise.
And they should force Azerbaijan to accept the fact that that Azerbaijan's border with Armenia must be redrawn. That this region must be re-included into Armenia. Just as Azerbaijan blockades Armenia and wages a war against our people, other countries could blockade Azerbaijan. They did it against South Africa. They did it against other very, racist or unjust countries. Why can't they do it against Azerbaijan? Why can't they do it in this case? If people are serious about peace in the region, then they've got to be serious about a real solution, not one of these quote-unquote compromise solutions that, just put the war off for another 2 years and then the war gets even worse after that. No, that's not a real solution. That's not a real solution. People you got to face the facts, say, this is what we're going to do. Put pressure on the culprit, put pressure on Azerbaijan to accept that, and then there will be a lasting peace. And let me emphasize that without a lasting peace here, the situation can be very volatile and very dangerous for the entire world, because this region of the world is one of the most complicated, where an awful lot of interests get mixed up, a lot of contradictions can, blow up into wars, and a lot of different forces can get involved. A lot of forces much bigger than Azerbaijan and Armenia. Forces which, if they start getting involved, the intensity of the war, the intensity, the magnitude of the effects will get totally, out of proportion with what's going on right now. So I've got to emphasize that it is a dangerous situation and that there's got to be a final solution. People have got to just face the facts, even if that doesn't make Azerbaijan happy, and say, look, this is it. And if you don't accept it, then we're gonna punish you. We're gonna put a blockade on you, and embargoes, everything else.
You must have been brought up with a very strong sense of Armenian nationality, weren't you?
Not really. Not really. I'm a third-generation Armenian from the United States, and I was born there. My parents were born there and everything. My mother's family has been in the United States since 1881, and my father's family since something like 1907, something. Anyway, we've been there a long time, and I didn't speak the language at all until the age of 20. I started to learn the language when I went to Lebanon, and I really wasn't brought up. No, I wasn't brought up.
Why did you go to Lebanon?
Well, because at a certain age, at the age of 11 or 12, when my family went to Turkey and we saw our grandfather's home and all that stuff, we started learning. We started learning that we were Armenian. Up until then, we really didn't know that. But after that, we got very interested, and we just started reading more and more and learning more and more. And when the war broke out in Lebanon, and when the Armenian quarter was very much in danger, the phalangists were attacking and trying to force the Armenians to pay taxes and beating them up if they didn't, and blowing up their homes if they didn't, and all that stuff. So I went there to participate in the self-defense of the Armenian quarter in Beirut. And that's how everything started. Started learning more and more and more. And now it's been 15 years.
So actually not until your 20s did you begin to learn about Armenian history, the Armenian Holocaust, the neglect of the Armenian people throughout history by the rest of the world. Is that right?
Well, the first time I ever heard about the massacre, about the genocide, was when I was about 12 years old. And after that, I began reading at the age of 13, 14, everything. But at the age of 20, I graduated from Berkeley, and I went to Beirut, where I began learning the language, and where I began participating directly in the struggle. So, you know, that's my personal thing. A lot of other people have been conscious of the thing for much more time. But like I said, it's this whole struggle, this thing, it isn't new, neither in Artsakh nor in the diaspora. The Armenian people's struggle has been going on for a long time. We've lost most of our homeland, and we'd like to have the right to live in our homeland, as anyone else should have the right to live in their homeland. And we're going to fight for that.
You're going to do that. You're going to do that. You're saying that the Azeris have tremendous military power. Mm-hmm. Where are they getting their equipment from?
Well, they got most of it from the Soviet Army. When the Soviet Army was dissolved, they got their portion, quote unquote. But they've also bought a lot from other Soviet republics. They've gotten some from the Ukraine. They've gotten equipment from Turkey, Soviet arms manufactured in East Germany, the ex-East Germany. An awful lot of those arms were sent to Turkey, and Turkey sent those arms to Azerbaijan. We've captured East German-made Kalashnikovs, things like that. Yeah, mostly like that. They buy arms. They've gotten their arms from the ex-Soviet Army, and one portion has been sent from Turkey.
And you?
Most of our arms, all these tanks we've got, both light and heavy tanks, our artillery, almost all of it has been captured from Azerbaijan. I'm the commander of Marsden. In the region of Marsden, we, from June 28th until now, we have either completely destroyed or captured 55 heavy tanks, T-72 tanks, 24 light tanks, these BMPs, and 15 other lighter armored vehicles, armored personnel carriers, things like that, as well as 25 pieces of artillery, of heavy artillery, not including light mortars and junk like that and other arms. The bulk of what we have, of what we fight with, has been captured from Azerbaijan. Just in the last fighting here in Marden, they've captured about 20 heavy tanks. T-72s, most of them, 2 T-64s, 1 T-54. Captured an awful lot of equipment. In other words, most of what we have comes from Azerbaijan itself.
Mm. It's been rough, huh?
Huh?
It's been rough.
It's been very rough. Very, very rough.
It's a long fight.
It's a long fight, and I don't know. It's amazing that Azerbaijan is still fighting this war. Like I said, an awful lot of Aussies realize that it's not their country. Then there are other people, you know, the other national minorities in Azerbaijan that are being totally exploited in this war. The Kurds were used against us in Lachin, and you know, that had absolutely nothing to do with their own interests. The Talish and Lezgi nationalities are being used against us. It's very interesting that a very high proportion of the bodies we've recovered, the Azeri soldiers' bodies that we recovered, are either Talish or Lezgi. And we get their passports, so we take their passports off their bodies and things of their other ID, and a very high proportion of them are not even Azeri, they're from the other national minorities. And that reminds me of the Turkish policy at the beginning of this century and end of the 19th century, where they used the Kurds against the Armenians. They used the Kurds to massacre the Armenians, and then once the Armenians were pretty much massacred, they started deporting the Kurds and massacring Kurds. In other words, they're setting non-Azeri national minorities against us in this war, knowing that the more of those youth that are killed, the better for the, chauvinist Azeri authorities. In other words, to get rid of those national minorities. And at the same time, they try to crush the Armenians here. And it's amazing to me that those national minorities aren't more awake. They're not more conscious of what's going on, because for us it's very, very clear what's going on. They're being used against us, and if Azerbaijan succeeds in crushing the Armenian movement here, they'll begin crushing the Talish, they'll begin pressing the Lezgis, and things will get even worse for them.
It's been also written that there are some human rights violations being committed by Armenian people at the moment.
Yes, let me say that in this war there have been violations. The biggest violation is by Azerbaijan against our whole people. That's the biggest and most outrageous violation, that they're killing our people, burning our villages in an effort to retain control of part of the Armenian homeland, something that has absolutely nothing to do with their own country. That's the biggest absurdity. But during this war, like during just about every war in the world, not just about, but really every war in the world, there have been errors committed, errors that should never have been committed. There have been, the Armenian side has also made mistakes. But let me say that those mistakes, there's absolutely no way of comparing the violations committed by Armenians with the violations committed by Azerbaijan. Absolutely no way. In no way whatsoever can you compare the two.
Ազատվին ասում է սեղանը դրած արջևը արևտրով է զբաղվում։ Հիմնականում այդ աղքատների տղերքն են ծառայում։ Հիմա մի տղա ունեմ 45 տարեկան է, Բանաբաքու է ապրում, մեկը մահացել է, իսկ մեկը միակ կինս է մնացել։ Ես եմ կինս անասունները պահում եմ։ Այդ տղերքը ասում է 3 հոգի պատահել են, 3 իմացել են թե մեր տողորանցից է։ Ես կանգնել եմ, բայց հետևից ասում է 3 հատ ամոն է եղել, փախել են, գնացել, իսկ չեն ասել, որ դա մեր տղերքչին, հայերին։ Հիմա ես սպասել եմ, եկել եմ, ինձ ասել եմ բարձրացրու ձիով։ Իմացել եմ, թե մեր տողորանցից է։ Ես կանգնել եմ, բայց հետևից ասում է 3 հատ ամոն է եղել, փախել են գնացել, ինձ չեն ասել, որ դա մեր տղերքչին, հայերին։ Հիմա ես սպասել եմ, եկել եմ, ինձ ասել եմ բարձրացրու ձիով ենձին իրեն։ Ես զենքը բանը բարձել են ձիի վրա բարձրացրել, սարասն, սարից քեզ բաց կթողնեն գնան գյուղը, ես էլ հավատել եմ։ Բարձրացել ենք, սարասել ենք, պիտի տանենք քեզ։ Հիմա ես էլ եկել եմ։
Did you get any decent information from this guy?
Huh?
Did you get any useful information from this guy?
He told us how many soldiers they have, where, what sort of armored vehicles they have, where their major bases. That 2 days ago they brought in reinforcements, and you know, things like that.
He knew all that?
Huh?
He actually had all that.
Oh yeah, he knows all that. He's both a shepherd and the person in charge of the forest there. In other words, he spends all his time walking around in the mountains and the forests and everything like that. He knows exactly what exists where.
Like, say that again?
On the other side of these mountains is Shahumyan, the region of Shahumyan, that the Azeris took over in June also. We've still got to take over that region too. We've got to retake it. I served there 3 months in 1991, still before this one.
Tell me about this road.
This road here goes from Chapar to Aldaban in the region of Mardagert. It's a road that we just opened yesterday within the last 24 hours. We were able to retake the village of Aldaban and re-liberate that place. As you know, Mardagert, the Azeris took most of the region over in June and July of 1992. Now we're in the process of taking the whole place over, village by village, mountain by mountain.
Get it to be normal again, huh?
Yeah, once we do that, we'll be able to reopen the main roads so that people can go back and forth normally, live a normal life, so that we can get the economy of the region back on its own feet. Right now we have to go through roads like this that have been cut out of the mountains during the war here, just so that people can make it from one place to another. We can't even get through with a jeep through this road. You can only get through by tank.
And yesterday they took it all by foot.
Yeah, they walked. Our guys walked over 15 kilometers before they reached the point where they were to start fighting. Anyway, it was successful, very successful operation. And now we've got to just keep going forward, retake whatever we've lost.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So, the Armenian people have started to really not pay much attention at all to the press or to world public opinion or anything else, because they know very well that no one has really done anything throughout history for us. No one has really attempted to rectify the situation. No one's done anything concrete to help us. Or not only help, it's not even called help, to reinstate a correct situation, a just and correct situation. That's why the Armenian people lost all all interest, almost all interest in international efforts, in what other people say about the conflict, and they, you know, we just know that we've got to do everything by ourselves. We've got to solve this problem by ourselves. That's all. There's another Azeri light tank. BMD, BRM, shot BRM, they're kind of shot. Das direkt 0-0. Ինձ չի կանչեցրի մա։ Այո։
Բանը, կարասուս կապի մեջ է, մեր տղաներին բռնել են, ճանապարհի որ պիտի հետապող տանել, դեպի 19 բռնել են։
Դեպի 19, չի ասկս է, որում բռնել են։
Մեր հետապող, որը պիտի շարժվի 19 ուղղությամբ, հետո դերես գնալ մեր մոտ, ճանապարհին բռնել են, դուք տեղյակ եք։
Ոչ մեկ բանին տեղյակ չեմ։
Արգավորաշուտ քարաշոտից կապված, որ են տեղյակ պայք, որ գնան տանել են հետո մեր հետապողը բերի։
Աբրես գանջան։ Ո՞նց ես։
Ամենք ենք լսում ենք։
Ժվիլ, գարնալ, թերս չունել կացինք։ Benzin, love gala coin 10 liter let's name Kima.
Give me a word. Goodbye.
Okay, good luck there. Good luck. I hope you tell everyone about what's going on here and how ridiculous the situation is, how we could solve this problem without all this fighting, without all this bloodshed, if people would just accept reality. Tell everyone that. Anyway, good luck.
Bye.
Որ դու պայմանավորեցիր եկան խփեցի ժամանակին։
Խփեցին։
Երբ խփեցի 10 ժամ հետո։
Ժամը 2-ը 10-անց։ Եվ ոչ ալը, բայց մենք չենք ուզել որ խփեն։ Ուզենք որ գերագուր, բենզին, սարյարգա, զնամաթեր կլեցնեն, դանին ու իջեցնեն։ Ուրիշ բան չենք ուզել։ Թող ոչ մեկ բան փուշ չի գրագեն։ Yallah. Ana, benzin birlesin. Gomidas. Tergalatsınız ya.
Նկարում ամոզ աշկավան, զանջար ես տալի։
Սակատեն եկել։ Եզա նկար է։
Թե աշկավը հետ դիպան։ Դե կոշտ ես։ Բոթոն ձեր ես։
Ացում պաշկով։ Əvli öğretmez mi? Artur.
Ապեմ ինձ խենք շտապը խտեն գիդան թակրվակ եմ։
Դες պայետ ես։
Մեկ դրոզերային։
Դե հոլոշ տուրում։